Welcome to the podcast, everyone. The mission here at Brave Healer Productions is to change the world one brave word at a time. I am your hostess, Laura DeFranco, and I am super excited. I'm always excited, you guys, but super excited to have three amazing author expert guests with me today to help me with that mission. Holly Alexander is the author of the Magic Money book series, A Course in Creating Abundance. She's a serial entrepreneur, multiple business owner, philanthropist, wife, mom, avid traveler, reader, and explorer. Welcome, Holly. I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Miss Dawn Horizons is an award-winning international speaker, certified holistic health coach, and licensed massage therapist. She'll teach you how to live healthy, naturally, spirit, soul, and body with God's medicine. She emphasizes getting to the root of your symptoms while bringing education, enlightenment, and empowerment to women looking for answers and recovering from trauma or abuse. Welcome, Dawn. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Miss Christies Sullivan is a wellness advocate and self-care expert with a passion for manifesting more abundance in alignment with our human design. She hosts a virtual community to give busy women permission to make self-care a priority and help them curate daily rituals that fit their lifestyle. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you so much, Laura.
You guys, what do these three goddesses have in common? Aside from wanting to help the world heal, they are all co-authors of The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing, which is a book that offers 25 different holistic healing practices and tools you can do at home. There's quite a story to this book, you guys, and the series that's been coming out right in the middle of COVID. I know a lot of healer, amazing people, and I literally woke up one morning with this idea that we really needed to help the world heal at home, to empower them to use tools that they could do and be effective with in the moment after reading these chapters. And I'm super proud of these books, you guys, and the volume 2 authors that you see here today are gearing up for that book, which is coming out in July, any day now, any second. So Christy, tell us about your chapter.
Sure, happy to. So I share a little bit about my story for self-care in the book and how before even what's going on now, I was really going through a couple of crises in my own life, and that I had some self-care practices that helped get me through that. They weren't necessarily, didn't look like the same every day, but I had not only people around me, but the tools that I needed to make sure that I was practicing self-care. I had gone through a training called Human Design where I looked at how important it is to be in the body. And so going through those crises when I needed to be more out of my head in my body really helped me get through it. And I wanted to share that with people in my chapter because I think everybody at one time or another is going through challenges, especially right now. There's a lot in the world. And so I wanted to get out that message of how important it is to be practicing self-care on a daily basis. And it's different for everybody. So my chapter is about exploring that and taking a look at what is your self-care and how can it help you.
You know, the thing that I know about myself, and that was after a lot of exploration, is that I need a lot more than I thought I needed. And it was the only way that I could serve from an overflow, because if I wasn't giving myself all the things, all of the amount of self-care that I truly knew that I needed, I was always serving from this reserves place, which felt kind of exhausted all the time, you know?
Depleted. Yeah, you can feel depleted. And that idea of putting on the oxygen mask, you don't do that once a week. You do that every day, if not multiple times a day. And the way I look at self-care, when you say how much more you needed, I think there's different levels of it too. I mean, some of it is your spiritual self-care, really taking a look at your inner being. What do you need to heal, to deal with traumas that are blocking you and creating some of those challenges? So we do need a lot of it. But it also needs to be what serves you individually versus what works for me, and trying to have you do that.
Definitely. It's so unique depending on the individual. I think half the battle is just understanding yourself and what amounts in what categories you need the most to feel the best. You're just making me think of like super busy working mom entrepreneurs for some reason, only because I am one. Okay. But, you know, the excuse might be, well, I have all these people to take care of, and I have this business to run. And if I don't do X, Y, Z, well, then we don't eat, or whatever, you know, whatever the excuse is going to be, whatever's going to get in the way. What's your best answer for that? I know it's a tough one sometimes.
Well, I see self-care as a ripple effect. So when you're practicing it, other people are benefiting from it. And so that is sort of part of our caregiving, is to make sure we're nurturing ourselves, because then there's a ripple effect. And whether it's doing ancestral healing where you're healing generations, or just working on yourself in the present moment to make sure that you're being kind and compassionate to yourself, it'll extend to others.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, for sure. It's energy. So we need to be vibrating high, because that seeps out into the world around us. And it is palpable when you are in that kind of energy. I love living in that. And once I took care of myself to the point where I was feeling like I was finally serving from the overflow instead of the reserves. It's like once you hit that sweet spot, you will never go back to what you were doing before, right? You're a little wiser. And so it's great. It's sometimes hard to get there, but it's great once you do. So listeners, this self-care thing is not just the hot topic of, you know, the year or the last 10 years, it is for a reason. It is a hot topic for a reason. So, Christy, thank you for being here and sharing these ideas in this amazing book.
Sure, thanks.
So, Miss Dawn, talk to me about your chapter.
My chapter is on spiritual grounding. And when asked the question, you know, how can you serve, or what tool would you like to share with people, I had to think about the trauma and the abuse that I've gone through in my life, and how did I get through all of those things. And the one answer that can bring all of those things together was spiritual grounding. It was these tools that I had been using on myself for years and began to use with my clients, that was found to be very effective for myself as well as for others.
So spiritual grounding can have a different definition for each individual, just like self-care can have a different definition. What's yours?
It is finding your center. It is working from a place of authenticity. It is acknowledging the things that you have gone through and looking to your creator, to your higher power, to help you to get in alignment with him and with yourself, so that you can fulfill what your purpose and what your destiny is. It's recognizing even your shortcomings and your flaws, and being able to turn those around into positive things, so that you don't get stuck in the trauma or stuck in different areas of your life. And that's what helped me tremendously.
Trauma and abuse can end up being things that people define themselves by. And I feel like in my own life, it took a while for me to wake up to, that's not who I am.
Yes.
And you actually talk about this in the chapter a little bit. Tell me more about that piece.
Yes, I've been working with women, and a lot of people, they get stuck there, and whatever the trauma is that they went through, and feeling like that's who they are. And so it becomes hard for them to move on in life and to see themselves any differently, or to realize that they deserve better things, or that they can have the things that they want. And so I talk about steps on how to get you out of that moment, to realize that you are not what you've been through, and that you can change your life. You can press the restart on your life at any given moment. You just have to have the desire. And I believe the tools to help you to get there, because if you don't know that you can get there, then what are you even wanting? I don't want women to be stuck in whatever the traumas that they've experienced. I want them to know that you can still live again after divorce, after rape, after domestic violence. You can live again, and not only survive, you can thrive.
Yes, for sure. So you're making me think of something that is a theme through every chapter and both books so far, and that's awareness. So each of you is beautifully teaching a tool of awareness. They are all tools of awareness in one way or another. And Christy, I think you said something about body awareness, which is really, I wrote chapter 1 for that reason, for that foundational reason, that if you can be in here feeling your world as you move through it, then you can respond to it instead of being triggered constantly and reacting to it. Right. And so, Dawn, when you're talking about that, I can see that first piece is awareness. And when you help somebody into that world, it's a game changer.
Yes.
Yes. So can you remember a place, I don't know, it might be a hard question, but I think you have this story ready, but can you remember a place in your life where you literally woke up there and, you know, there's always a pause for me in that waking up, right? And then you kind of turn your face to the sun. This is how I like to put it. But you had a choice only because you were aware.
Yes.
What was one of yours?
One of my tools, actually in the laundry room, is I heard a noise upstairs. It was my husband at the time coming home, and I was doing laundry. And when I heard the door close, I jumped. And within myself, I said, why did you react like that? You reacted as if you were abused. And I heard a voice say, that's because you were. And I was like, oh my God. So that was my awakening. I have been going through life this whole time, trying to be wife, mother, and everything. But that was the moment that I realized that, hey, you were abused. And then it was, what are you going to do with it? So that began another level of my own self-care journey.
The last thing I kind of want to say about that is we live so many years content with what's happening because we kind of learned that was normal.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the good news about that are these moments when we realize, oh no, there's way more to life. There's way more joy. There's way more health. There's way more love. There's way more gratitude, right? And what a great day that is. Yeah.
Definitely great day.
Thank you
New
for
life.
writing. Yes. Thank you for writing about this and for being so vulnerable and authentic about your story. It's going to help a lot of women.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to serve.
So Miss Holly Alexander, talk to us about this money chapter. What is this money chapter doing in a healing book, girl?
Oh gosh, if we don't heal our money wounds, then everything else is harder. And my passion and my mission is to help people to realize that there is an abundance all around them, and also there is an abundance that flows from them. And everything you need is right inside. And all you have to do is get connected to it and release it.
So the critics of the law of attraction, I hear them and they love to say things like, oh, you know, you can positive think your way till the cows come home. It's not going to make the money come in. What would you say to them?
I would say to them that the truth is there are laws of the universe, like gravity, right? And the laws of the universe say everything is energy, and what you put out comes back to you, and what you believe is what you create. To think is to create, to speak is to create, to believe is to create. And if you believe that the law of attraction doesn't work, you in essence are putting it in action by saying it doesn't work, and you're attracting what you believe.
Yes.
And there you go.
You know, there's a lot of really fascinating science about brain science now, and about the energy of thoughts and what we're actually doing, you know, when we're
Yes.
thinking certain ways. Yeah, this is, I'm so fascinated by it, totally addicted to these different scientists who are doing this work and the people who are talking about this work. I don't know if you guys enjoy Joe Dispenza.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. He's the one that I think of when I think about this topic. So that's usually a bridge sometimes that I can get people to just say, hey, you know, there's some science about this. You should read, go, you know, because meanwhile I'm basking in my gratitude and checks are arriving in the mail. And I don't know sometimes how to express how that happens. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
It's worth a clap, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So what's you mentioned the money wound. Can you talk more about that?
Oh, sure. I think we have wounds around money and energy around money that is a direct result of how we were raised, what was modeled for us. And every person can look back and see, oh, my parents or my parent or my grandparents or whoever was around me modeled a behavior around earning money, around spending money, around investing money or not, right? Earning or not, spending or not, investing or not, being generous with or not with money. And we observed that. And as sweet little sponges, we just picked that up and thought, this is how everyone does it. This is how we should do it. And then if we are paying attention, which most of us are, we might then notice that there are some people, and this is what happened with me, that there were some people that were at ease with money. They were at ease with earning it, at ease with spending it, at ease with sharing it, at ease with growing it. And I was none of those things. And I was super curious because I also was paying attention to the fact that everything I liked came with a price tag with a comma. Including some of my bills. And I realized that I needed to figure out what was going on and how to fix it, how to heal those wounds, how to fix those, how to fix my behaviors. I don't want to say that they were broken, but I think you understand, right? How to make the connection between wealth and abundance. And I really began to question everything that I had taken as the truth.
Yes. You're making me think that the thing that was in my household was we just didn't talk about it at all. There was an absence of a great conversation about money. It was always a hush hush thing around the grandparents' table. You gave me such a flashback visual to that table where we sat as a group, as a family, but that was not ever a topic. And what a gift you might give to your children if you were open in communication about all of that, you know. But that's what I remember there. It was a no to talk about it. Yeah. So that can be powerful.
Yes. And perhaps when money was spoken about, things were said such as, we don't have that kind of money.
Exactly.
Or we aren't those kinds of people.
Yes.
And I know if you categorize anything or anyone stereotyping, right? You're stereotyping, well, rich people are bad. Well, guess what? You're never going to be one of them.
Yep.
Right? If you recognize that sometimes wealthy people are the most generous, and also if you are wealthy, you can be generous. One of the things that I say a lot is the best thing you could do is be wealthy, so that when someone says, well, I can't afford, or I'm not able to, you can say, oh, hold my cappuccino. Let me handle that for you. That is the best feeling in the world, to be able to help someone rather than say, well, yeah, I'm kind of broke too.
Yeah.
Sucks to be us.
The theme of generosity is a big one. And it's not just a theme, but it's an energy. And I love attracting money so that I can feel generous and help all the people in my world that I love. and you actually helped me a lot with some affirmations. I know you're going to do a little bit of affirmation stuff in your chapter, which I love. One of my favorite ones I created as a form of yours, and then I kind of made it mine after reading your book series. It was awesome.
You want to share what it is? I'm dying to know.
Oh, I always have enough money to give, save, share, and spend. And there's another one that has to do with, I always have enough to generously take care of myself and everyone I love.
Oh, I love that.
I like that second one more than the first one. I like both.
That.
But
I love that.
Thank you.
I love
So just give me a moment talking about the affirmation piece. How did that play out in your world? How important was that?
It was very important for reconditioning my brain when I would say or think or feel in a moment. So I would get a bill in the mail and I would have that, my stomach would leap and I would go,
oh my God, give me one for this same moment. I need this one. What is it? What should I say when I open the mailbox and see another effing bill?
So let's talk about that, because it's a sign that if you have a bill, it is a sign that you have been entrusted with something that you're being billed for. So you use that electricity, or you rode on those tires, or you
how'd you know?
or you access that transmission in a very powerful way in the speed lane, right? Whatever that looks like, you've been entrusted with that. And then I say, as money goes out, double the money comes in. As I'm paying a bill, I'm saying that. Or you can say, as money goes out, I engage the law of tenfold return. As money goes out, 10 times the money comes in. And one of the things that I learned was to take whatever figure you have and add a zero. It's just a zero, kids, just one zero. So if you get a bill for $1,000, put a zero on that. If you have $100 in your bank account, put a zero on it. Take all of your bank accounts and just add a zero. And imagine what it would be like if this was the amount of money in your bank account. And very soon, your brain, your subconscious mind says, all right, because there's no time or space in the universe. It's all just coming. You just have to get ready for it and step into the flow of it. And the minute you're ready, the minute you're really ready, then it starts to come. And affirmations can help you to bridge that gap. You can say something over and over and over. So when I had gotten into a space of there's not enough, then I always revert to there's always enough. I have a large, steady, dependable, permanent financial income now. As money goes out, double the money comes in. And you can't say one thing and speak and think something else. Anytime
that's a good point.
You think or feel, because it's the feeling, the vibration that goes out. If you're in a vibration of fear, it's the law of karma. So we go back to the laws of the universe for the non-believers, right? It's like, where's the science? Well, It's like gravity. It's a law of the universe. Karma, what you put out comes back to you. When you're in that energy of fear, that fear multiplies and then it comes back to you. So I'm afraid I can't pay this bill. So while you're afraid, then more fear goes out and more bills come. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I don't want that. What's going on? And so be grateful that you have the bill because you've been given the trust.
Be
and
grateful
gratitude.
You have the bill. Okay.
Yeah, gratitude. And then say, I'm curious. This is where I sit. I'm curious where the money is going to come from to pay for this. Because
I do that one.
Yeah, I'm curious. Where's it coming from? This will be fun. Come on, universe. Get ready to show off. I'm ready.
Nice. I love that. You guys can feel the energy shift, as we talk about it this way. So there's one thing, you have a little moment, you've heard these topics over and over, but then you hear it just the right way and you have a moment, because I hear a lot of people sort of bashing affirmations. They think it's silly. It feels silly to say stuff out loud. Oh my gosh, you guys should be in my house as a fly on the wall when I'm by myself talking to my plants, my pets, and myself. But so I've gotten past that part of it, but your aha for me just now is that if you are literally speaking it out loud, you then overpower the thought that was underneath it, that was a different energy. So you're playing a good trick on yourself by actually getting the words out your mouth.
Yes. And then eventually you will replace, your thought will be, I'm just curious where the money's going to come from. I'm really interested. You don't have that leap in the stomach anymore. There's not, oh, how am I going to pay for this? It's like, okay, well, the last time I got connected to the source, I got some abundance in the mail or a direct deposit. I'm a big fan of, I receive large sums of money, big, happy financial surprises, unexpected checks in the mail, unexpected direct deposits. I love an unexpected direct deposit. That is like my favorite, where you just log in on your app on the phone and you're like, oh, yeah, thanks, universe. This is great.
I love it.
If you're expecting it, then it comes. It just does. It's kind of cool.
Thank you for saying yes and for writing this particular chapter. I truly appreciate your twist on the topic and the energy.
Oh, my pleasure. As Dawn said, and I think we all feel the same way, it is such a pleasure to serve, because when you figure out something, you want everyone to figure it out. It's like being in love. When you're in love, you're like, I want everybody to be in love. It's like, I want everyone to figure this out and to get past this piece, because we would have less of all of the things in the world that we're sad or afraid or frustrated about if everybody had more than enough abundance. Mm-hmm. If we got above that lower piece of the pyramid, right, of just food, shelter, and safety.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. So you guys have each dropped some, nuggets already about this. And if you're thinking about our listeners, thank you for being here, listeners. And by the way, listeners, you're going to be able to explore all of these amazing author experts in the little notes below the video. Okay, I've hooked them all up with their websites so you can explore. The book comes out in July, so that link will be in there once the book is ready. But for now, please go take a peek at all the different things that they're talking about and that they're offering on their sites. So for our listeners, and just thinking about something that you really want them to know about being on this journey, this, in my world, it's a brave healing journey, because the thing I want the listeners to know is, I get that you have to be a warrior some days to be on this path. Showing up sometimes is being a warrior, just showing up for the stuff that's in front of your face, the stuff that you have to feel, the situations that you're put in. So I get that you guys are warriors, and part of the mission of the book was to help you not feel alone on that journey, to make you realize that you've got a community of warriors to do this with, right? Because you can do it alone, but you really don't have to do it alone. We can grab hands and we can do this together. So, Dawn, I'm going to go back to you and ask you, what's one thing you want the listeners to understand about this journey?
That you are more powerful than what you think you are. Everything that you need to be successful in this life, it's already within you. So it's a matter of being aware and accessing that tool that lies within you so that you can be all that you want to be. We have these desires for a reason, but we also have the answer to fulfill that desire lying within us. And I think that the book is really going to help people to hone in on that and be able to access their desire and the awakening to experience what they're looking for.
Oh my gosh, of course, I wholeheartedly agree with you about this book being that tool. So in our author interview yesterday, can't remember who answered that question very, very similarly. And I love that answer, because if you could just spark that hope in people, the people who've been looking outside themselves for the answer, the 15 doctors they've been to, and they're still only barely getting, some results. from all of that advice. And I remember too, just being in a class long time ago in the beginning of my career as a holistic physical therapist, taking continuing education and feeling like I couldn't feel anything and that I was not gifted with that ability, to feel the magic that everyone around me seemed to be feeling already, right? And so this is part of this. What you guys are doing in these chapters is you are empowering people to connect to that thing that everybody has. I'm going to raise my voice on that one just to make sure you understand what Dawn just said. It is in there. You don't have to doubt it. You just have to get curious and keep practicing and exploring. Keep going in, get a little more quiet and still and explore, right? Don't believe everything you think. I heard a great quote the other day that I love even more than that one is don't believe anything you think. That's T. Harv Eker. And he's an interesting money mentor, Miss Holly, that I've been listening to lately. And he's just like, don't believe any of it. Get more curious than that, because all that stuff you're either you've learned it from people or you are reacting that way from a old primal ego based place, right? So I like that one. I love that, Dawn. Thank you. Christy, what about you? What's something you want the listeners to understand about this journey?
Well, first, I want to just recognize what you just said, really important, something I learned again in the human design system, which is this right here, the head, causes confusion and resistance. And it's really good for thinking, but not solving, and not really our really deep inner wisdom, accessing that. So again, that's why I go down to the body. The other thing I want to tell listeners is that, and we've been talking about this already, we're perfectly imperfect. We have been conditioned, social conditioning from parents and teachers and authority figures and all that programming that's in our mind. So it's there, and it doesn't mean that it's true. It's just what we've been taught. And so in order for, I think, that awareness to happen, I think you first have to realize that we all have wounds. We all have healing that needs to be done. And we all need to explore a deeper part of ourselves of who we truly are. What's our true design? Because we were brought into this world with a certain coding or blueprint, I call it, of energy. So how do you take care of that body and soul and being? And how do you stay out of this part of the head that is just, our social conditioning of, intellect and we have this, we're intellectual beings, but it's not where our true inner guidance system is, that GPS system. It's really in the body.
I love that. Yes. Totally agree with you there. And I love the deep dive. Of course, there are a lot of us who love that deep dive, right? That's why we chose this journey. I believe that we are a special group of people to choose the journey as a living, as a lifestyle, as a,
warrior,
as something that we want to teach the world. And what is that other saying? You teach what you most need to learn, of course. Holly, what's something you want the listeners to know about being on this journey?
Well, Dawn and I must be on the same wavelength along with Christy, because I would say the same, everything you need is within you. The thing I would add then to what is being said is that you have to give yourself grace. Recognize when you're on automatic, when your program is running, right? We're not programmed, but we have a procedure that we have learned. And when that bill comes in the mail, the next bill that comes in the mail, you can go, oh, the universe trusted me with a bill. This is so cool. I wonder where it's going to come from. As money goes out, immediately money comes in. Look, I'm going to add a 0 to this. And I'm going to give myself some grace for that little stomach flip that just happened. I'm going to give myself some grace for that feeling of fear that just happened. I'm going to give myself some recognition for my awesomeness, my badassery that's showing up right now, because I'm expanding. And someday, I promise you, I remember when I lived in a big city, and I went past a store, and I remember seeing a price tag on something, and I was like, well, that might as well be $6 million, because I cannot afford that. I do not have that kind of money, right? And now I routinely am able to purchase things that have that price tag on there. Routinely. It's like an all the time thing if I wanted to. And that's not bragging. That's just, I've expanded my consciousness, and so can you. If I can do it, you can do it. It has nothing to do with me or you. It's all within you. And as you're on this journey and you're expanding there, you're listening to these words and to us for a reason. You have the opportunity to expand. And mine hasn't been an overnight. It's an everyday, all the time thing, right? It's putting the mask on daily, doing the work daily, recognizing daily, seeing something daily. My husband sent me something yesterday to look at, and I was like, look at the price tag on that sucker. And then I was like, oh, there it is. There's a price tag that got me. I have more work to do. There you go.
You're making me think of something. I think this isn't a question I've asked the other groups, but I love this next question. When I think of mastery on this journey, I think of one thing that Holly was just saying, and then I wonder what each of you thinks about that too. What does that even mean? A lot of people don't like that term, especially because of the idea that, if you can keep a beginner's mind throughout the journey, you're doing pretty good, and that there is never really mastery, But when I think about that, when I think about being in a really good place, a next level kind of place with this journey, I think about what Holly was saying in terms of, I recognize the little stomach flip very quickly, almost in the instant of feeling it, so that I can turn it, say the different affirmation, have the different feeling almost right as it happens, versus spending an hour with the damn this bill, and then figuring it out like an hour later or 2 hours later or a week later. I remember one other instance with, being a writer as all you are, getting that first real critic comment. And I think I spent a week paralyzed by the thoughts in my head as a result of that feeling I had that somebody didn't like me. Oh, poor me, right? But the mastery piece is just the enhanced ability to notice in the moment, notice faster, so that you can do something better, healthier, more powerful with it. So, Christy, what do you think about mastery? Do you have any other things you think about in terms of, so mine was kind of like the speed of the awareness. What else? How do you know?
So I actually think right now, for a lot of us to get to that speed, we need to hit the pause button, ironically, too.
Yeah.
And that's what's exactly happening right now in our, I've heard this a lot, this Mother Nature, God is hitting the pause button for us right now. And that's really something in this year for, I think, folks to start being aware of and practicing, whether it's pausing, taking a few breaths, whether it's pausing, sitting down, shutting off the computer, shutting out the world, even if it's for a few minutes, practicing that pause throughout the day. That's why, again, in my chapter, I'm talking about curating daily practices. And this is one of them, is the pause button. So can you master that? Can you master stopping? We're human beings, not human doings. So being is in that moment of just pausing, and then the awareness can happen. The speed can happen because you're now used to not cluttering up with all the information that's coming at us, as well as swirling around in us.
Yes, fully agree that the pause is probably the precursor to that speed. So the faster you pause, the better. Thank you. That's perfect. Dawn, what about you? What has been one of the ways you've kind of mastered the practices on this journey?
Consistency. You
Mm.
know, so many times we start something and we stop. And every time you have to start over, you prolong that process. And I realize a lot of people are looking for breakthrough, whether it's in their finances or in their life, whatever they're going through. But breakthrough only happens when you continue to hit the same spot with the same speed and the same force, then you break through. But if you start and stop, you're kind of hitting and missing that spot every time. And it takes so much longer for breakthrough than if you're really consistent and hone in on that one spot and continue to tap at it, then you can break through. So I would say consistency. And in that, even to me, is being true to yourself, that you deserve this. Like Christy is talking about self-care, you deserve this. And so consistency.
I love that one so much. That's been a theme throughout my life in terms of being, I'm kind of the extreme sports. I'm kind of the extreme action taker when it comes to life, and I'll tend to jump and do things as my tactic, but even bigger than the action taking is the consistent action taking. It could be small, medium, or large, but it's the consistency that makes that so magical. At least it has in my life. I love that one, Dawn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Holly, got an idea about this mastery. How did you find yourself on this journey, getting to a level where you felt, oh, okay, I'm up a notch?
I did exactly what Christy and Dawn said. I stopped, right? When I have learned through my consistency to stop, get grounded, centered, and connected. The minute I feel out of flow, and I'll know that because I'm hungry, thirsty, tired, grouchy, I haven't exercised, I haven't meditated. I know that as a powerful being, what I am in any moment, how I am vibrating is going out, and it's going to bring it back to me, what I am putting out. So I stop and I get grounded and centered and connected.
I love what you just said about how you know. I kind of want to slow you down in that for their listeners for a minute, because I think half the battle is knowing. How do you know? Like how? So you did a really great little list, but talk about that a little bit more.
Sure. So someone once said, I can get happy in the same pants I got angry in or unhappy in. And so how do you do that? And everything that we feel is an action signal. It's either an action signal to keep going, or it's an action signal to stop.
Oh my goodness. Did you guys hear that just now? I'm stopping the moment. Speaking of pausing.
Yeah. Stop.
Everything we feel is a signal, is a language. Everything we feel is a language. So if you get to understand that language of your soul, right, it's telling you all the answers all the time. Keep going.
Yes. So when I am not feeling in the flow, when I don't open my email and see a, hey, thank you, or I'd like to introduce you to, or like, so there's no referrals, there's no action, right? When things have kind of slowed down, I take that as an action signal that I need to get grounded, centered, and connected. When I want more of something, I have to be vibrating in the space to put that out so that it will come back to me. And I am not vibrating at my best if I need a cookie, if I need a cup of coffee, if I need a nap, if I need a Tylenol, if my pants don't fit, right? You all see where I'm going with this. So I have my little list of things, and it's like, okay, did I get enough rest? Did I meditate? Did I say my affirmations? Did I speak to create what I want to create? Or did I speak to create something that I didn't want to create? So when someone says, well, I really hope this doesn't happen, I'm like, shh, cancel. Say, I really want this to happen. I am grateful that this happened, as if it's already happened. I have my list of things. Do I need a piece of chocolate? Do I need to sit and read a book? so I can fill up all of my cups. And apparently I have a bunch of cups, right? I have tea cup, coffee cup, chocolate cup, nap cup, sleep cup, meditation cup, exercise cup. One of my friends called me yesterday and was upset about something. And I said, I really suggest that you go for a run. You go sweat it out. You change your cranky pants into your happy pants so that you're vibrating at the level of what you want to receive. And I know to do that because I'm a slow learner and I had to learn it 100 times maybe before I got it. And now it is the very first thing. So if I wake up and I'm tired or I have a headache or I'm sluggish in any way, I'm like, oh, this is not the day that I push the envelope, which is very tempting, right? Because when we are lacking in something, we think, oh, if I just worked harder, if I just worked longer, if I just called more people. But if you do that, then you're just creating the more.
That's a cool way to think about starting your day. And in terms of like what Christy was saying about self-care and what Donna's been saying about grounding, spiritual grounding, like I have had days like that where I'll wake up and I'll see the lack of flow, or I'll already feel sort of off, and I'll just think, oh, I just better work harder today. And what I really needed to do was have a mega pause and just go meditate in the sunshine, do some journaling, take my walk in the woods. And as you shift that energy, then so does your day. Your day shifts, right? And you might see flow starting up again, even really quickly, right?
Oh, yes. It will. And that's when you know to start up again. That you really we just passed the baton. Thank you for that. Is you will know, because you'll get the, hey, I'd like to do that thing, or can you tell me more about this? Or I read your book and it gave me inspiration. It's like, oh, that's the universe saying, okay, good. You're back in the right vibration. I learned that from my feng shui teacher, right? Like light some sage, wash your front door, go wash your car. Or someone told me, one of my British friends said, organize your knickers drawer. Like, underwear out of sorts. You're out of sorts. And I was like, okay, so go fold the underwear.
Oh man, you guys, we've got a decluttering chapter in this book as well. And so we all could be here all day long talking about this topic. Seriously, it's so powerful. But that's an energy shifter. And I absolutely love how all your alls is, I don't know if that's how to say that, all your alls chapters are kind of weaving, flowing, and you all could have written about 30 different tools that you use in your day. And so, thanks for taking on the challenge of, picking one and helping the reader out with that one experience. By the end of your chapter, that was my goal, was for them to have an experience. The shift can be quick. I want to give people that hope, because if you think it's going to be hard or take forever, guess what will happen? So I also want people to have the idea that it actually can be easy and quick.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah, please.
Just really quickly, one of the things that I suggest that you do is expect to see results within 24 hours.
Oh, I like it.
When you start to say affirmations or when you get quiet, and I know I have tested it hundreds of times. I've done this hundreds of times. When I want something, when I say, okay, here's my goal, here's my intention, the very first thing I do is go do that decluttering. What do I need to throw away, clean up, dust, wipe down? And then I'll go and do it for a couple of hours, and I come back and I check my email, and there is someone who has said, I want to do that thing, that I didn't put it out anywhere. It's not like I sent an email. I didn't do a newsletter. Right? I didn't post it on social media. I just set the intention mentally, said some words of affirmation, and then I vacuumed and mopped my floor. Yes. And everyone thinks I'm crazy when I first tell them this. They're like, how do you really do this, Holly? How do you really do this? I'm like, well, go get your car washed, right? Take the trash out, clean your floors.
Yes, I do this.
And they're like, okay, no, really, what do you do? I was like, well, if you have to do something, clean something. Otherwise, sit and meditate or read a book. But
I love that you're saying
24
this.
hours. It's within 24 hours that you will get a sign of abundance that will flow to you. That is the very first signal.
I can speak a little bit to this too, because it's exactly what human design is, the system, which is energetic. It's about living in alignment. And when you're totally right, Holly, when you are in that just do it mentality, we've got to work 8 hours on our computer if we want to get a client. But really it's stepping away, getting into yourself, whether it's cleaning or meditating, doing something that serves you. And then suddenly you've manifested because you've lined up your energy, and that's the magnet, right?
Love it. I love that you ladies can have this conversation. I was saying in one of the other interviews too that, and to you listeners, about you listeners, I know this is how it felt early on in my career, but a lot of people just don't have people to have these cool, fun, amazing conversations with. Or the topic seems a little out there, and so they're afraid to initiate the conversations with the people that are closest to them, afraid of what they'll think, afraid if it goes against their values or their religion or their this or their that, right? So I thank you ladies so much for being the ones to have these conversations and really start them up in this way, but also in your circles, and just to have that love spread out and have people understand that they can talk about all of these amazing things. I love that you're all talking about cleaning. I regularly wash my own car. I love washing my car. And when I need to get away, I will tell my daughter, I'm going to be out washing my car for a while. And I'll just take my time, and man, that thing is shiny afterwards. But it's one of my favorite things, which gets me to kind of a fun wrap-up question for all of you. So Holly, I'm going to start with you on this one. What do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
Well, I have a list. I have a list of things.
Of course, I want them all.
You want them all. Reading, writing, talking to someone who is having a rough time with something and helping them to have that aha moment when someone calls me and says, I am challenged by this bill I just got in the mail and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, okay, let's go for a walk. You walk and I walk, even if we're not walking together, have a walk and talk. And
Nice.
Let's get the energy flowing by the walking, and let's talk it through. Let's talk it through and get to a new place. So I think we'll put that number one on the list, is helping someone else to have a breakthrough. And then there's reading and writing and spending time with the people that I love.
You made me think also of, here's another topic we could probably talk about all day long, but you know how if you are having a bad day, the idea of looking for someone else to help shifts it almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So on some of my worst days, I will think, okay, who could I write a thank you letter to? Or maybe I know someone who's been struggling a little. I saw a post somewhere, like, could I even just reach out to them and possibly help them? Man, that's an instant energy shift. I love that. Thank you. Dawn, how about you? What do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
Helping other people. When she said that, I was like, yes, me too. These are some amazing women, and I just want to hug you. Like, I can't wait to meet you face to face and read your chapter. So I definitely lose track of time when I'm talking to other people, counseling, them, helping them. And the other thing, the main thing that I lose track of time with would be in my spa room, just setting up the atmosphere, whether I'm reorganizing or cleaning or just adding something new. it's my serene, tranquil space as well as it is for my clients. And they always say how they feel, just loved and welcomed and all these great things in there, but I get to feel that too. So even though I may not be getting a massage, let's say, just being in that space, like that's my creative space. That's a comforting and just soothing place. And so I totally lose track of time in there. I could go in there to do one thing and I'll do 20 things instead. And I just love it.
I really enjoy the idea of sacred spaces, and I've been very slowly transforming my entire home. And takes a little while to get to every room. But when I started doing even just one, the energy shift was so palpable. I thought, oh my goodness, okay. And slow but sure, I've moved into other areas of my home that I spend the most time. And I find now that I just love going to, like Dawn has her spa space. I love being here in my office space. I love the colors. I love the essential oils that I've been diffusing. I love the way that I have it set up, right? And in the beginning of me writing, I didn't really have a sacred writing space. Mm-hmm. So for all of you writers out there, do you love going to where you like to write? Yes or no? Like, do you even have a space for yourself? It's so cool when you create those spaces. So Christy, how about you?
Well, same like Dawn, I have been teaching yoga for a long time, almost 20 years, not quite yet, but when I'm teaching and serving in that capacity, I lose track of time. I actually need to make sure I have a clock nearby because it just seems to fly by, whether I'm teaching for 30 minutes, a morning yoga practice with some of my virtual peeps now, or if I'm, in a classroom setting. But that just, I think it's because of the creativity. So I'm in that flow and I'm not noticing the time. The other thing I'll say though is what you just touched on, which is having conversations like this. I feel like time just flies by when I'm talking about this with other women or a community of folks who understand the language, the knowledge that we're sharing, listening how other people are practicing it and their tips and tools. And I just love that. I feel like time flies by for that too.
I love it. Ladies, thank you so much for what you're all doing in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody.
Thanks for having us.
You guys, I'll just repeat for the listeners that just below the video in the show notes, you guys are going to be hooked up with their bios, their websites. Go explore. As soon as our volume 2 book is out, I will have that link, that purchase link there for you. And so, you can take a little bit of a step forward if you want to come into a very special private group on Facebook that we have going on, the Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing Community. Your book purchase of volume 1 and or eventually volume 2 will get you access to that group where you can rub elbows with these amazing authors that you're learning about today or any of the other 25 from the first volume. We have 25 amazing people in volume 2, and OMG, you guys, this is a place for some brave healing. So thank you, ladies, for being here. I want to leave everybody with one of my very favorite questions of all time. What if there is something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? These books are full of those things, you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.